Welcome to Lindamood-Bell Radio. I'm Dave Hungerford for Lindamood-Bell. And now, more than ever, you can count on Lindamood-Bell to help meet the learning needs of your family. Our Learning Center instruction is proven effective, both live, online, and in person. Better skills can help your student thrive no matter what the school year brings. Students can catch up or get ahead in core skills like reading and math. Our one-to-one programs are tailored to your child's unique needs. Get information about a tailored program for your child. Lindamood-Bell.com. Here's today's episode. And I'm here with the Executive Director of SENIA, Lori Boll. Lori, welcome to the show today.
Well, thanks so much for having me.
And SENIA is the Special Education Network and Inclusion Association. Tell us a little bit about SENIA and what it is and what it does.
Okay, for sure. Well, back in 2002, a group of educators in Beijing, China, at the international schools got together because they were lone learning support teachers in their individual schools. So they wanted to meet up with others and begin to network and learn from each other. So that small group kind of grew throughout the years, and they were having yearly professional development conferences in China, and then that grew to overseas, and so all within Asia. So by last year, I believe, we had so many people interested. Our conferences have grown to over 600 attendees usually, and all throughout Asia. But then we started developing these local chapters and regional chapters, and people from these different countries in Asia started moving throughout Europe, South America, Middle East, and were now teachers at international schools in those areas, and they wanted to become part of SENIA as well. And so we went from being the Special Education Network in Asia to the Special Education Network and Inclusion Association, so we could become worldwide. So our mission is we are a network of educators, professionals, and parents who come together and network and advocate for differently abled individuals in our lives. And we also provide resources for them and provide learning opportunities for teachers and parents and educators.
Now, are these international schools, are they affiliated in some way that they have a consistent curriculum, or are they all completely unique?
Yeah, no. So there are multiple international schools throughout the world run by different organizations. Some are run through the embassies, some are run through companies. And we have British international schools, American international schools, just international schools, German international schools. So they come with a wide variety of curriculums and programs in place, and all with a very different outlook on educating individuals with special needs.
Who are the students at these schools?
Yeah, again, it depends. So many of the schools started way back in the day for embassies in the countries where the people were working. Since that time, it's grown to expatriates who go overseas to work. So if you were going overseas as a doctor or as in an oil business, you would need someone to send somewhere to send your child to school. And so those international schools have been set up in place for them. However, the people come from all over the world. In our last school, over 75 countries were represented at our school. So it's quite diverse population.
And so then what is the state of inclusion in the board that you're giving this wide range of curriculum?
Yeah. All over the map, so to speak. So when I first started teaching overseas back in, 1994, so that ages me a bit, but inclusion didn't exist. And what would happen when you'd go overseas to an international schools is people would say, well, we don't accept any student with a learning disability because we don't have the resources to support them. So families who have children with learning disabilities should not consider moving overseas. Of course, a large group of people were frustrated by that, including the teachers. But a lot of families were frustrated because they didn't have a place to send their kids to school. Now, this was just mild learning disabilities, like students who were maybe 2 years behind in reading or writing, who were not allowed to attend the international schools. As time has gone on, schools are becoming more and more inclusive. And so many schools are now taking mild to moderate needs. And now there's a scattering of programs out there for students with intensive needs as well.
So tell me about your journey as an educator.
Yeah, well, okay. Yeah, so I started overseas teaching back when I was 21, and my husband is also an international school teacher. And we decided that we were going to do this the rest of our lives because it just provided us so many opportunities for travel, and it was just fabulous and fun and exciting. We had both of our kids in Saudi Arabia. And at the time, Saudi Arabia did not have any services for students with disabilities. And then we eventually moved on to Jakarta, Indonesia, at Jakarta Intercultural School. And while we were there, we noticed that our son was not developing the way our daughter had been. So we started asking some questions and taking him to professionals. Very long story short, by the time he was 5, he was diagnosed with autism. But this was back when he was 3, when we were in Indonesia, and we decided to go back to America to try to get him diagnosed and figure out services for him, because at the time, that school also did not service students with intensive learning needs, which we knew at that point that it probably was pretty intensive. So we moved home to America and had him diagnosed. And while we were learning how to work with him and his needs, I decided to go back and get my master's degree in special education. As a teacher going into these meetings, I was completely overwhelmed by the verbiage that they were using in these meetings. And what they were telling me as a parent, as if I should already know. And I thought, wow, I need to get myself educated in this. And so I went back and got my degree, and eventually became a special educator and realized that that was really where my passion was all along. So yeah, I guess that's my journey. Through time international, we eventually moved overseas again, and I worked at a school for kids with special needs. And then my husband and I eventually co-founded the first inclusive school in Shanghai, China, for kids, for our son, and for other families like ours who wanted their kids to be able to go to school together, but couldn't. So, and then my last school in Bangkok, I worked with an incredible team of professionals who wanted to bring full inclusion to our school. And so we opened up a program for kids with intensive needs there.
And how would you define like full inclusion to somebody?
Yeah, that's
true. Well, for somebody to still receive special services and yet be fully included.
Yeah, so I guess that's a tricky question, because our program, I would say our kids were more so integrated into the program without full inclusion, because we truly believe that the kids that I was working with needed very specialized instruction. So they would come to our room for that full specialized instruction in reading, writing, math, daily living skills, their occupational therapy, their speech therapy, and those were fairly intensive services that they got often. So they were included in their classroom as often as they could be with their peers. So they were included in all their specials, of course, and throughout the day as much as they could, but brought to our class for the intensive instruction.
Have you taught in the States?
Yes.
You have?
Yes. Mm-hmm.
And did you find a model similarly, I don't want to say inconsistent, but a range of different things from what you've heard from your colleagues in the States here as well?
Yeah, most definitely. And yeah, I don't, it's a hard concept. I really truly believe that what we were doing in Bangkok was what was best for our students. Others might disagree because many people believe that full inclusion in a general ed classroom is the way to go for our students. So it's tricky.
Well, it kind of started out that way a few generations ago, and then that wasn't working either. So we were gaining some knowledge along the way. Tell me about your duties with SENIA. What do you do now as you're newly crowned as the executive director, right?
Crown, I like that. I started in June, and originally we decided to have me become the executive director because our organization had grown so much. So we now have regional chapters in South America, Europe, Asia, Middle East, Africa. So we're just growing rapidly, and we needed somebody to organize and structure everything we were doing. Before that, we were a group of individual teachers working full-time and doing SENIA on the side. And so I took that job on to grow it and progress in that manner. But then, of course, we have COVID. And so our big conference last year in February, it was due to be in Manila, Philippines. And Angelica Benson and Rosie Shand were supposed to come and be presenters at our conference. However, that got canceled. So now my job right now is to organize this virtual conference that we're having here December 4th through the 6th.
Tell us about that a little bit.
Yeah. So we have this conference coming up, and it's going to be pretty tremendous, I think. We have 3 full days of content, actually more but it's probably a total of 4 days if you really broke apart the hours. We have strands in behavior, communication, autism, and then just strategies, best practices in working with students with special needs. One of our big goals at a SENIA conference is for teachers to walk away with things they can do on the following Monday in their classrooms, things they can try. We love theory, but we want practice. And that's what our teachers have told us through the years that they want when they leave a conference. And so we have some pretty spectacular speakers this year. Dr. Ross Green, who wrote The Explosive Child, and many other books. He'll be coming and speaking about behavior. And Jessica Minahan will be speaking about anxiety. We have Sarah Ward, who is an expert in executive functioning, and Bonnie Singer, who is working memory. We have Angelica again, and Rosie from Lindamood-Bell, who will be helping our teachers with literacy and language development. And then Norman Kuntz and Emma Vandercliff will be some of our keynote speakers as well. And they are adults with disabilities who speak about inclusion. So they're really fantastic and inspiring individuals.
Is it open to the public?
Yes, open to everybody. We already have over 500 participants, and it's just growing by the day. So,
and how would someone find out more about signing up for the conference?
Sure. It's at www.seniaconference.org. So, and then they can always email me with any questions.
Have you ever been exposed to Lindamood-Bell programs yourself as a teacher?
Yeah. I used visualizing and verbalizing quite often in my classroom. And not only I enjoyed it, but my students enjoyed it quite immensely. And I saw quite a bit of progress.
Right. And again, the conference is what dates?
December 4th through the 6th. But the good news about any of this is it's all pre-recorded. And so participants can watch anytime they would like for 30 days after the conference.
Oh, great. Very nice. Well, currently, I know the state, I've talked to a few friends and parents that have kids that are receiving special education services around the country, and the pandemic has really disrupted that.
Yes.
What are you hearing from your colleagues that are educators across the globe and how they're adapting to that?
I think they are struggling just like everyone else. I do think that teachers in international schools are in a very unique position in that the resources available to them are expansive. And if they need a certain software or program to help them through, they can generally get it. At least that's the experience of schools I've worked in and the colleagues that I've spoken with recently. So they're able to do a lot of creative work with their students, work that they're quite proud of, and that many have said that they're going to continue doing even once the pandemic is over, because they've learned so much through this process. But it's hard. And I know from being a parent how difficult it is for my son. He's 21 tomorrow, and he's in a transitions program, and he really struggles with the online portion. In fact, so much so that we've decided it's not worth it. So we don't even put him on for that time. It was also hard for his teachers because, it was really trying to get him to engage, and he just had no interest whatsoever. So, yeah, I mean, it's difficult all around.
Yeah. Well, hopefully there's some light at the end of the tunnel shortly.
I really hope so.
Been a crazy year.
Mm-hmm.
Why don't we wrap up with the contact information for SENIA again, if you would?
You bet. So our normal website address is www.seniainternational.org. And then our conference website is www.seniaconference.org. Great.
Well, thank you so much for spending a little bit of time with me this morning. It's great to hear about the efforts, and I wish you the best for your upcoming conference and your other work that your organization is doing.
Great. Well, thank you so much for having me. I really enjoyed talking with you.
And thank you for listening. Visit us at Lindamood-Bell.com and check out our presence on YouTube, Twitter, Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. We are Lindamood-Bell.